El gran film revelación del año es sin duda Good Will Hunting.
La película dirigida por el muy independiente Gus Van Sant,
Coproducida por el más independiente aún Kevin Smith.
y escrita y protagonizada por el inseparable dúo Ben Affleck y Matt Damon,
Obtuvo
contra todo pronóstico,
8 nominaciones al Oscar.
incluyendo las de Mejor Actor,
Y mejor guionista.
ambas para Matt Damon.
Lo sentimos por Mark Wahlberg.
El renglón de Mejor Película este año, que incluyó la consabida Titanic, probablemente por su larga duración,
Sorprendió con la inclusión de Full Monty.
un film sobre unos obreros en paro que terminan como strippers.
Y complació a las fans de Matt Damon con Good Will Hunting.
Además reiteró el catálogo de tics
Ya muy vistos, por cierto.
de Jack Nicholson.
En As Good As It Gets.
Pero no todo está perdido. LA Confidential milagrosamente quedó en el cuadro final. Hasta una nueva edición de Movie Flash.
Future, citizenship will be earned. In the future, we'll be at war with bugs.
Hey everybody, welcome to E's Behind the Scenes look at Starship Troopers. I'm Todd Newton, and today we're at Sony ImageWorks Studios here in Culver City, California. And in the next hour, we're going to give you a very detailed look at this year's biggest and most anticipated special effects event. So I need you to grab your can of bug spray and just make yourself comfortable as E takes you behind the scenes.
The bugs send another meteor our way, but this time we're ready. Planetary defenses are better than ever.
I'd like to tell you about the enemy in this movie, which are the arachnids, this planet that we attack and they attack us. I can't say too much about them, but they are the scariest movie monsters I've ever seen.
When audiences go to the movie to see this, they're going to see the best special effects ever. They're going to see a great sci-fi film. Paul Verhoeven, who directs this, directed RoboCop and Total Recall.
Troopers is a tale of a bunch of kids in the future that get out of high school and opt to join the intergalactic military.
A group of young people, young men and women that both starting off in the movie at high school, and then they go to boot camp, and then ultimately in the second part of the movie they come into this terrible and gruesome war against giant insects.
I think this film is different than the sci-fi films that were made in the past because Phil Tippett created, these bugs that we don't have around today. They're bugs of the future.
Approximately 400 years in the future. The bugs attack Earth, and then we go and try to claim their territory.
These bugs are serious. They're as big as Buicks. They move at about 45 miles an hour.
Oh, man. Terrifying. Terrifying.
Okay, and action.
Years before the cameras rolled on Starship Troopers, it was a groundbreaking novel.
This was written immediately after the Second World War, a couple of years later, by Robert Heinlein, and he is portraying a not so democratic society. And in fact, you could call it nearly pseudo-fascist.
Starship Troopers follows the lives of a tight-knit group of friends.
It's young people that really feel that life is wonderful. They're at high school. Everything is promising.
Casper Van Dien plays Johnny Rico, a kid who, despite his parents' wishes, opts to join the military.
On about!
I've been thinking, and I'm going to do it, Carmen. I'm going to go for federal service.
That's great.
Denise Richards is the high school sweetheart who goes on to become a Starship pilot.
Oh yeah, I'm the pilot. Patrick's not. He's the navigator.
Melrose Place veteran Patrick Muldoon plays Xander Barkalow, who joins the military in order to become a citizen.
You don't have the right to vote. You don't have the right to do anything unless you serve your 2 years in the military.
Free Flores, reporting for duty, sir.
Dragonheart's Dina Meyer plays Dizzy Flores, who's tough as nails except when it comes to Johnny Rico.
It's sad after tonight, most of us probably won't see each other again.
Doogie Howser's Neil Patrick Harris is Johnny Rico's psychic friend.
Johnny, I'm sorry it had to be your unit on P. That mission had a very low survival probability. I'm as serious as a stroke. I play Carl Jenkins, who can touch the animals and know what they're thinking.
Carl's psychic ability secures him a position in military intelligence.
You don't approve? Well, too bad. We're in this for the species, boys and girls. It's simple numbers.
And in the meantime, Rico and Dizzy must settle for boot camp.
I am your senior drill instructor, Career Sergeant Zim. Second Edgar!
Clancy Brown plays Sergeant Zim.
Zim is allowed to do everything short of kill them in order to teach them how to survive.
Put your hand on that post!
Jake Busey is a wiry recruit.
That was a good one. Oh, yeah. You know, in this movie, Starship Troopers, I play a guy named Ace Levy. And I'm sort of, I guess you'd say, the right-hand man to Casper Van Dien's Johnny Rico. Sir? I don't understand.
But it isn't long before Sergeant Zim makes soldiers out of his recruits.
The first words and the last words out of your stinking holes will be, sir! Do you get me? Sir, yes, sir!
He is the one that takes Johnny Rico and his peers and turns them from sort of self-absorbed high school students into willful killers.
Remember your training! And you will make it back alive!
Suddenly they get involved in this really gruesome war, and then all innocence falls away.
This is for you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits.
Michael Ironside plays a professor of politics turned military leader.
You get me.
We get you, sir!
Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Ratchats, Roughnecks!
I'm always losing stuff in films, you know. Total Recall, I lost my arms. This one, I've lost another part of my arm.
And once the bugs show up, all hell breaks loose. As our one-hour look behind the scenes continues, we'll meet the bugs.
Doesn't realize it's dead.
And you'll hear about everything from the co-ed shower scene to the brutal boot camp. It's all coming up on Behind the Scenes.
Welcome back to E's 1 hour behind-the-scenes look at Starship Troopers. Now this is the model used for the drop ship. All the soldiers would cruise around in this and would drop them off at their battle destination. They'd jump out and go to war with the bugs. Pretty cool, huh? Now, in a moment, we're going to meet the alluring actress who cuddled up to her co-stars before the cameras even started rolling. But first, let's have a look at the other stars of this film, the stars who give new meaning to the term, "This joint is jumping."
Insect Update. They're called hoppers, airborne horrors with a taste for homicide. More on the insects coming up. So who's going to fly you to safety when those monsters come calling? Well, just the hottest pilot in the fleet.
Get us clear for warp number 2.
Clear in 5, 4.
Her name is Carmen Ibanez, a woman who wants everything.
Wants a career, you know, fights just like the guys do. I mean, I'm running around fighting with the guns, and I'm the pilot flying the spaceship.
Denise Richards plays this heroic siren.
That's what I loved about playing her, because she is fearless. She'll do anything, and she's got a lot of guts and just does it.
The character also happens to be the most desired woman in the fleet.
Johnny. Xander likes Carmen, and so does Johnny.
Xander has a little thing for Carmen, and I think Casper Van Dien's character has a little thing for everybody. So.
Carmen definitely has a much more exciting love life than I do, so it's fun.
Carmen's good at controlling men, but she's better at controlling spaceships.
Women pilots. See how good they are in the future?
These ships are part model, part digital animation. Later, we'll see how they were built. But on the set, Denise was sitting in a simple device that made it look like she was being hurtled through space.
Well, they built our ship on a gimbal.
Gimbal, a movable platform which gives the impression that the actor is in a moving vehicle.
Cut! By moving the gimbal and moving the camera a little bit, it gives them the effect that we're really flying along there.
But long before Denise's character becomes a pilot, her adventures begin in high school with classmates Casper Van Dien and Neil Patrick Harris.
Yes, the dissection scene in high school.
For extra credit, locate the nerve cord and count the gangway out. You may begin.
They were dissecting these beetles in biology. So, you know, reading the script, I thought they'd just be, you know, like little beetles. Shooting the scene, these bugs are this big, and they looked so real. They're like hard, and they put slime and all this crap in it, and it was just so disgusting.
It's not real bug guts. It's fake. It's a movie.
He just threw a bunch of bug parts in the middle of this thing and filled it with this nasty Ghostbusters goo.
I love getting my hands into carcasses and bodies and bugs and seeing the insides.
It was gross. Doing that scene was disgusting.
In Starship Troopers, bugs would soon become the enemy. The military would need recruits. The next classroom would be a boot camp.
Most of you will not live to be in the mobile infantry. The trouble is, you are not good enough the way you are.
Robert Heinlein's book, much more than the movie, is about boot camp. It's about how you become a man as a soldier.
Military accuracy is a critical component of Starship Troopers, and so Paul Verhoeven hired the top military expert.
Captain Dale Dye did our military coordinating. He coordinated G.I. Jane, Born on the 4th of July, Platoon.
Now, supplemental rope puller. Get in there, horse your way in, throw your butt at him. Get in there.
On a conventional film set, the assistant director often relays orders to the cast. But here, Dale Dye frequently has the last word, and this man means business.
Pass the word. Your people are to be screaming in full dudgeon at this point. This is war cry. We will kill some bastards, and I want to hear about it before you hit that camera. How copy, over?
And weeks before shooting began, Dye was the commander of a real boot camp, open to members of the film's mobile infantry unit.
Casper and Jake and Dina are in the mobile infantry, and then Patrick and I are in the fleet.
Captain Dale Dye, who was our military advisor, I asked him, I said, hey, I heard about this camp, you know, can I come out to the camp, you know, and kind of learn the ropes a little bit? And he's like, no, man, because you're fleet. Because fleet doesn't mix with the grunts.
I didn't have to do the boot camp.
I begged them. I'm like, let me go to boot camp.
Rope pullers. Better. Looked like you had some weight on it. Heave into it. Can you hear the cadence up front?
And we just did weapons drills and exercise all day long.
The boot camp for me was just getting me back into shape and getting me back into, you know, my mind frame. And it was awesome. I loved it.
You can't hear it in that mob? Of course you can. You need to be listening for it.
We did physical training, the running, exercising.
I mean, I just thought it was sheer insanity, but...
This is our captain. During boot camp, this is the man that put us through the trenches and the bug test and everything else. We wouldn't be the fine, outstanding unit that we are if it wasn't for him.
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
Never forget it, lad. Casper loved it. Casper comes from a military background and has been in some military school for a couple of years. So he enjoyed that enormously, and he is very good at that.
So he was eating vegetable mush and like raw beef and like strange things for his physique and working out every lunch day.
Oh, Casper.
What'd you say I look like?
A superhero. The way you...
She said I look like a superhero.
Casper went to military school, but he also didn't want to wimp out because he knew people would give him crap for it if he did.
But not everyone had an easy time of it.
Our first night, we're setting up. We had to sleep in tents, which I'm not much of a camper as it is. But basically, it's a poncho with sticks.
At 1 a.m., we're all in our sleeping bags with these tents with no front and no back.
There was a blizzard that they weren't expecting, we were so miserable.
Denise, her whole tent just turned into one little stick with it just looked like a jacket, you know, fluttering in the wind.
I walked down the hill and I'm telling Casper there's snow in my tent. Like, my tent's the only one with snow in it, and his tent didn't have any, so yeah, I slept in between he and Jake.
Casper was very happy. Casper thought it was okay, and he helped everybody.
Yeah, I got into it. I went out and covered some of the tents up that had women in it.
freezing, and our sleeping bags were not warm enough, and I had to pee really badly, and it was just really, it was so bad. It was horrible. It was really horrible.
After the first night, we all went back to the hotel, except for Casper.
Coming up, we'll explore the secrets behind these amazing ships and the people who bring them to life.
So we said, early on, from the storyboards through every discussion with Paul, we're going to have these two ships hit.
Hi there, I'm Todd Newton, and you are watching E's 1 hour behind-the-scenes look at Starship Troopers. Now, coming up, we're going to see how an army of artists and technicians designed one of the most spectacular space disasters in history. I mean, even the George Marshall here took a direct hit, it looks like. But first, we're going to take another look at one of those oversized insecto freaks from Starship Troopers.
Insect Update. Say hi to the tanker bug. It shoots a deadly chemical cocktail that'll knock you off your feet. Do you want to know more? Then stick around.
Oh, come on, it's just a bug.
Okay, you know what? I don't think I'm ever going to be able to eat lobster again just because of that. But the bugs are just one part of the phenomenal special effects in Starship Troopers. And this is the other part, the starships. And most of them were built right here at Sony ImageWorks.
I was the senior visual effects supervisor for the spaceships.
Scott Anderson, best known for his Academy Award-winning work on Babe, went from talking pigs to exploding spaceships.
Keep on that, get the other ships match moved in. And in the almost 2 years that everything was designed, prepped, shot, and the models built, designed, shot, all that work, we had a crew of, in the end turned into about 270 people.
Scott headed up a diverse team, which included effects supervisor Dan Radford.
The main role of the visual effects supervisor is really to be the holder of the vision, of the look of everything.
In this case, everything meant every planet, every star field, and every explosion. Then there are the critical battleships and fighters.
Then you've got the ships who basically ferry goods or people around. You have the drop ships.
Troops get in and out of a box, which is the box for a dropship. But anytime you see the top of a dropship, we've put that in post-production.
And then there are attack fighters. They do the aerial bombings.
But the mother of all craft is the largest ship in the fleet.
That is one of our models of the Roger Young class ship.
These are massive boats, and they react and fly in that manner.
These large ships are like the battleships and the aircraft carriers, multi-purpose. And they're the largest by far. Nothing else really approximates them in terms of size.
Massive models like this were built for a series of astounding scenes, whose visuals were born in the mind of director Paul Verhoeven.
First, I made the storyboards, and then I gave them, then Scott Anderson had the storyboards.
Paul had a lot of storyboards, a lot of ideas for all the shots.
After the storyboards, we then shoot animatics.
We worked with what we call pre-visualization, which is a digital version, very low res, very rough, of animatics, digital animatics.
He would, based on the storyboards, he would, with the computer, would create these models as three-dimensional elements in the computer.
With animatics, Verhoeven had a clear idea of what these complex space sequences would look like before exposing even an inch of valuable film.
Over the months that it took to design all the space action, and the battle sequences, we sort of narrowed in to a real center line of the story and flow of events as he saw it in his mind.
With the planning stages complete, the real wizardry was about to begin. But how do you make an audience believe that these ships are a half-mile long?
The solution, maybe not surprisingly, is you build very, very large models.
George Merkert is the visual effects producer at Sony ImageWorks.
This is literally, to my knowledge, the largest visual effects show ever mounted.
Starship Troopers mixes state-of-the-art digital effects with older and more conventional model photography.
We set out to take the best that each technology could give us, so model photography still in my mind leads in a richness and believability of the ships that we can't quite achieve yet in digital.
If you're going to build a 9 or 18-foot model, you have to also be able to deal with it, move it in space.
Model mover is a fairly simple concept. It's a piece of equipment that moves a model.
The model mover that we could mount one of these large models on was called Gigantor, because you could mount a comfortable sized luxury sedan on it and fly it around in the air if you chose to.
Once the model shots were complete, dramatic elements were added, like pyrotechnics.
So we knew that all the explosions and fires and things like that would have to be shot separately and then married into it.
This really became a major pyrotechnics show. We have probably thousands of pyrotechnic elements littered throughout all our shots. By the time you count all the pyro elements, all the digital elements, all the stage elements, it was just a massive layering.
We had 2 stop-motion animators come in and actually, frame by frame for that sequence as the ship is tearing itself apart and dying, they would frame by frame animate the destruction and the parting of the decks.
And the results are spectacular, including this violent collision in space.
We were constantly working really on a naval analogy for the big ships, where they were big, floating, almost lumbering ships going through space. And so when they finally came together, it's sort of like a train. You can't stop a train once a collision's imminent.
Here, all the metal-crunching details are in plain view. Coming up on Behind the Scenes, would you hand over your blockbuster to this man?
En breve, regresa con ustedes.
What they do is simple. They come to watch you at high speed and they just cut your head off in 2 parts or cut your legs off.
You got a bug problem, man? I still it, Trooper!
Welcome back to Behind the Scenes. I'm Todd Newton. Now, in a moment, we'll be speaking with the very controversial captain of Starship Troopers. But before we do that, let's meet our next candidate for Arthropod Employee of the Week.
Insect Update. They're called warrior bugs, the food processor of the insect world.
Slice and dice.
More on the warrior bug coming up.
Starship Troopers was a massive military project, one that could only be helmed by a very special commander-in-chief.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Verhoeven.
Paul's been very interesting to work with. The way I like to describe it is Paul commands excellence, demands it from you.
Yeah, that's good. Here, 2.
His name is Paul Verhoeven, the Dutch-born director of sci-fi blockbusters like RoboCop and Total Recall.
Let me see it again.
Trained as a doctor of mathematics, Paul left the field of numbers for the field of dreams.
The astonishing thing about Paul, and the thing that was a privilege about working with him, is from the very beginning, he had a very clear idea what the entire film needed to look like.
That's true. There is a part of me that really goes for something that I create in my mind or on storyboards, but it's first in the mind. And then I say, okay, that's what I see, and that's what I want to see in my movie.
Paul was great. He's very interested in the visual aspect of everything. I think that's what he does very best.
He is so passionate about his work that he doesn't let anything or anyone stand in his way of it.
Yeah, because I really go for a certain kind of vision.
He has a vision and that's it, and he just does it.
It's this persistence of vision that sometimes causes friction on the set.
Don't worry about anything unless it's your own safety.
He's able to pull more out of you than you even thought you could have pulled out of you.
Paul has tremendous energy and loves to act out the things that most human beings find difficult.
It is sometimes difficult to work with me because I really go for the vision that I have in my head, and everything what the actor or in this case the special effect people would do that's different, I would say no, you know. Okay, let's try again. Let's try again.
In Starship Troopers, Verhoeven gives us a glimpse into the future. The future as seen through the eyes of novelist Robert Heinlein.
Anyhow, what he was portraying was a society that was pretty harsh.
A society steeped in the ways of war.
Paul has a very clear vision of what war means.
What I added to that was my own memories of when I was a soldier in the Dutch Marines for 2 years. That was around 64, 66. And I was drafted for 2 years and had to go to boot camp, of course, before I became an officer.
But Starship Troopers is more than just a sci-fi techno-war fest.
It's young people that really feel that life is wonderful. They're at high school. Everything is promising. They're innocent. They're naive. They don't know what life is about. And then suddenly they get involved in this really gruesome war. And then all innocence falls away.
And then there are the bugs. Armies of them everywhere. Massive, murderous arachnids.
They're destroying forts and just ripping through your armor and ripping your head off.
These are not bugs that we, see every day. These are bugs of the future, so they're disgusting.
Later, we'll see how the bugs were created for the screen. But on the set, the actors worked with their imaginations.
There's nothing that we're reacting to. I mean, sometimes they'll put these sticks in the ground with tennis balls to show us, our eye line and how big it is.
Okay, this is the bug. These are our bugs. This is what we use as a bug. When they say the bugs are coming at you, they hold these things up and they say, this is the bug.
Yeah, and they run to look like this.
But coaching them every step of the way is a well-trained, completely calm master craftsman.
Something like that.
So we would actually be fighting nothing. Well, of course, Paul Verhoeven would be going through, bugs, going all crazy and nuts.
From the side of the camera, I would make these sounds or these gestures so they get them the feeling that the animal was next to the camera.
He'd do this impression of the bugs, he'd say, okay, and the bugs come and they go, ah, and he'd start screaming and waving his arms around.
Slash!
Paul's job was to get them, the bugs, they're coming, they're running with the bugs.
Kill him now, it's over here, it's over there, look out, run.
Screaming at the top of his lungs and just,
And I would do it more like really with gestures or with threat display, or also sometimes with like sounds which would really help, like.
I love Paul. He is incredible.
And that worked very well, If you see the movie, then I think if you look at the actors, it really feels like they knew that these animals were there in front of them.
I knew it. I knew it, baby.
I was here.
No, baby.
You're lying.
No, come on.
Liar.
Gee.
All right, fine.
Yeah?
All right, fine.
Try again. Thank you.
Technical baloney.
En breve, regresa con ustedes In Focus, solo en E! Entertainment Television.
No hay nada más entretenido que oír críticas indiscretas sobre todo lo que se ve en pantalla.
Más si se trata de desnudar los famosos talk shows de la televisión.
Todo esto sucede en
Talk Soup,
una caliente y alocada sopa de letras.
Talk Soup.
Here's a bunch of MI kids that look like they could eat bugs for lunch.
Yum, yum, yum.
Welcome back to Behind the Scenes of Starship Troopers. Now, in a moment, we're going to take a glimpse at the future of the military, complete with nuclear grenades and co-ed showers. But first, let's pay another visit to the Arachnid Hall of Fame.
Insect Update. Greetings to the plasma bug, a creature who proves the value of getting a little behind in your work.
The bugs stick their ass in the air and they blow plasma funk. Only in a Verhoeven film.
Talk about dishonorable discharge. Anyhow, in Starship Troopers, the space cadets spend a lot of time bug hunting. But for the film's Johnny Rico, there's always time for a little romance.
Johnny Rico is just a guy in school that joins the military because he wants to impress a girl.
The girl he's trying to impress is high school sweetheart Carmen Ibanez.
My father's not home tonight. And then, you know, I meet up with Xander, who's played by Patrick, and he's interested in my character.
Patrick Muldoon plays Xander Barkalow.
This is Xander.
This is what I could have. Yeah, we know each other from the game. And what feelings? Xander Barkalow is been in the military his whole life, and he's an ace. He's an ace pilot, and he knows the ropes. Captain, we're in the path of an unidentified...